Welcome back to my channel. For this week's episode, I wanted to share with you a family recipe for deer stew. Before I can do that though, I need to go ahead and get changed into some cooking clothes. Now that I'm ready to cook, I wanted to go ahead and show you how to make our deer stew. This year, I was fortunate enough to actually shoot the biggest whitetail of my life. I was super pumped, really happy about it. And with that said, deer stew is one of the recipes that we really enjoy after we harvest deers, and so I wanted to share that with you. The first thing that you're going to need is a big pot. Now, as you can tell, I do have a really big pot. It is not going to fill up this entire pot when you're making the stew. However, because of the recipe I use and you just pour things in, I like to have that little bit of wiggle room in case I make a mess. So I have my pot. From there, I'm going to have some deer meat. You could use probably other versions of stew meat. I just prefer deer meat, so that's what we're gonna use. I've already browned it just to help save time, so it's also one of those recipes, depending on how much meat or potatoes, things like that you like in your stew, you can judge that accordingly, but I've already made what I normally would make, so I'm gonna pour in our deer meat. I'm just gonna dump it in the pot and all. From there, the next thing that I like to add is my potatoes. Like I just said, potatoes are one of those things. You either like a lot of potatoes in stew or maybe you don't like a whole lot. I particularly like potatoes in my stew, so I do have a great big bowl of diced potatoes. I don't cut them very fine either. I kind of like chunky potatoes, so I just dice them and go with it. Once the potatoes are all in, then I start adding some of my other ingredients that happen to have some liquid into it. This is one of those great recipes that we're gonna use some corn, we're gonna use some green beans, we're gonna use some diced tomatoes, we're gonna have some tomato sauce, and we're gonna have some mushrooms. And with that said, all you do is open the cans and you just dump them in. So here's gonna be my first can of corn. Dump it in with all the juice and all because that helps flavor your stew, but then it also gives you a little bit more liquid when you're cooking it. Here's my second can. And then I move into the green beans. Just dump and pour. It goes really quick if you have all of this stuff opened ahead of time, and while your deer meat is cooking, you can do all of that prep work. Diced tomatoes, you can use the chunky diced tomatoes or you can use the petite diced. I like the petite diced myself. So 2 cans of the petite diced, and then I move on to my tomato sauce. And the reason why I pour all of this in on top of my potatoes is just so that the potatoes doesn't get kind of brown. You know, after they sit out for a while and you don't have liquid on them, they kind of turn. So we're on our last can of tomato sauce. And then mushrooms. Mushrooms is one of those ingredients. If you don't like mushrooms, you don't have to add them. Another great thing about stew, you can just kind of add what you like and take away what you don't like, or add things that maybe you do like that other people don't like. That's going to be the base of your ingredients. From there, we're going to go ahead and move and pour into some diced onions. I have about 3/4 of a cup of diced onions. Add more or less to your preference. And then on the spices, I've gotten it figured out to where I know just the right mixture for how I like it to taste. So I do about 3 tablespoons of garlic powder. I have 1 tablespoon of Cajun, or sorry, not Cajun, it's gonna be Cajun. I was gonna say cayenne pepper, but no, this one's the Cajun recipe. And then I have 1 tablespoon of paprika. And then in this bowl, I have a couple different spices mixed. I have 1 tablespoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of pepper, and then I have 1 tablespoon of a spice called Cavendiers. Now I'm gonna go ahead and pour this little mixture of those 3 ingredients into this pot. The final thing that I add to this fabulous stew mixture is a 1/2 cup of water. I only start with a 1/2 cup of water because I don't know when it's cooking, when it starts, you know, cooking down, and if I need to add more water, I can add more water. For stew, we kind of like it not super runny. We want it a little thick, just that way it's kind of more stew consistency. From there, let me go grab my spoon. I'm just gonna kind of mix it all up. I know that I was probably talking a little quick and you may not have gotten the recipe written down if you wanted to. Don't worry, I'm gonna go ahead and share with you the recipe online with this video of how we make our stew. Once I have things mixed up, I'm gonna just basically put a lid on it. I'm gonna put it on the stove and it's gonna cook on low for probably about 3.5 hours. If you have one of those days that you can cook it super low all day long, that's fine too. Stew is one of those things, again, that the longer you cook it, the better it tastes, and it usually tastes better and better the longer it sits or after it's done cooking. So this is the recipe that I wanted to share with you today to make our deer stew, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as that we enjoy it. Since I have the deer stew basically made in the pot and showed you what I was doing, I'm going to go ahead and push this out of the way and remind you guys that it is still December. So hopefully those of you that have purchased the calendar are still in December. January is coming up very, very closely. For those of you that the first time watching one of my videos and haven't seen this print, this is from my timeless calendar, my first edition. And if you're interested in it, you can go ahead and get onto my YouTube site. On the upper right hand corner, there will be a direct link to the site of the store where you can purchase your calendar and some other prints and things like that. I really appreciate all the feedback that we're getting back. I appreciate everyone that's been buying it. We still have more to send out. We still have plenty that we can be selling. If we happen to sell out, we'll be more than happy to buy some more to sell out too. Until my next video, thanks for watching. Stay safe. See you then.